Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, and today we're checking out what's new with iOS 12 on both the iPhone and the iPad. And the great news with iOS 12 is that it's coming to any device that supports iOS 11, so you're eligible for an update if you're running iOS 11. We're going to compare this side by side with iOS 11 so you can see some of the changes, and one of my favorite changes really comes down to Face Unlock. One of the problems I had with Face Unlock with iOS 11 is that if it failed to read your face, you had to enter in your passcode, but with iOS 12, that's fixed. So it failed to read my face because I'm behind the camera right now, but I'm not presented with my passcode. If I swipe up again, you'll see I get the option to scan my face. So again, if I see my passcode, just swipe up again, scans for my face, and right now I can't see it. So let me see if I can get into view here. Scans my face and unlocks. So obviously that's going to be great for the new iPhones, which rely on Face ID to unlock. Now, one of the tweaks they've made to Face Unlock can be found under Settings. So if you go to Face ID and Passcode, we'll have to enter our passcode to enter those settings, but we now have the option to set up an alternate appearance. Some people have been using this to add a second person, but that's not really what it's designed for. It's really designed to improve the accuracy of Face Unlock. So if it has trouble reading your face because you change up your look, you can add another face or another version of your face to a Face Unlock that will hopefully help you out. One of my other favorite tweaks with iOS 12 is grouped notifications. This is something I've long wanted. So when you go to your notification panel, you'll see that for apps that have multiple notifications, they're grouped or stacked on top of each other, just to let you know that you have more than one notification for that specific app. So in the case of my email notifications, you can see I have multiple notifications for different accounts, so Gmail 1 and Gmail 2. So I can tap on the individual notification to expand them out so I can see all of them. Toward the top, you'll see I have the option to show less, or tap again to show these again. I also have the option to clear out the notifications for this entire app, which is useful, or clear all notifications from the notification shade. I can also swipe to the left to either clear all, view, or manage. So if I go to manage, I have some options here. So I can turn off notifications for this specific app. I can deliver quietly so it won't ring my notification sounds or flash on the screen. And if I go back to manage, I can deliver prominently. So again, it'll flash those notifications. I also have several other options down here, so I can go to settings, and this will take me directly to the settings panel for that specific notification. Another trick with email notifications in iOS 12 is that they're now scrollable. So we can expand out the notification and actually read our email right from the notification. That's kind of handy. Another one of my favorite new features with iOS 12 is automatic software updates. So go to General under Settings and select Software Updates and click on Automatic Updates. Another welcome change is related to the Recent Apps viewer. So it looks the same, but there's one welcome change, which is the way you dismiss apps. Previously, in order to dismiss apps, you had to tap and hold to activate the editor, and then you can close out the app. Now you can just swipe up to dismiss. The only thing I miss about this is that it was really easy to close all apps really quickly like that, so now I have to swipe up individually. Control Center picks up a new standard toggle, which is a QR code scanner. Essentially, this just launches into the camera app, which has this baked in already. So if you just wave the app at a QR code, automatically scans it and launches the appropriate app. One of the other major new features with iOS 12 is Siri Shortcuts, and this is something you can modify under Settings. So if we go to Settings, go to Siri and Search, you'll see a new section here for My Shortcuts, as well as Suggested Shortcuts. So suggested shortcuts are automatically generated by the phone, really depending on how you use the phone and what apps you use. So you can see specific categories depending on the app. So third-party apps can use this as well. So let's go ahead and create a shortcut. So we're going to click plus for show weather for my current location. And what we can do here is add a specific phrase to Siri to activate that feature. Rochester. All right, so we're going to click done, and now when I go to Siri, Rochester, this will take me directly to my weather app for my current weather conditions. One of the other big initiatives with iOS 12 is something called screen time. It's a way for you to quantify how much you're using your device and to place limits on how you use your device. Now, you can get to it a number of ways. You can go to Settings and get to Screen Time, so this is an all new panel. You can also get to it from the widget panel. So if you're on the home screen, swipe to the right, you'll get to it right here. Now, if you don't have the Screen Time widget, you can go to Edit and add it from your available widgets. So this gives me a quick glance of my usage activity. If I tap and expand this out, you can see how much I've used this device today or the last 7 days. So you can see how much time I've spent in individual apps, so 16 minutes for the settings app because right now I'm demonstrating that. I can even see how many times I've picked up the device, so it detects 41 times. And this also tells me how many notifications I receive per app. Now I can also break this down by app or by category, and I can place limits on by app or by category levels. So for example, if I spend way too much time on Instagram or especially YouTube, I can go to that specific app and apply a limit. So I can add a specific limit to Instagram. So if I want to just demonstrate this here, let's go for 1 minute. You can also select multiple hours, or you can also customize the days in which you limit. So if you want to increase your access on the weekends, you can certainly do that. So because I've already spent well over 1 minute on Instagram, you can see that app is locked out. And you'll see this little hourglass right next to the Instagram logo. Now, if I tap on this, it's telling me you've spent your limit for today, but I can also just ignore the limit. And this gives me the option to remind me in 15 minutes or ignore the limit for today. By the way, these limits will sync across iCloud devices, so you can't just jump to your iPad to get around this. Another tool of screen time is called Downtime. This allows you to schedule for certain times a day in which you have limited access to your apps. So I can schedule this for my evening hours, so 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then I can also specify app exceptions. So for example, the phone app is always available during downtime, but I can limit everything else. So for example, I may want to use Messages or FaceTime or Maps, and I can go ahead and add a few other exceptions. Now, just to show you how this looks, let's go ahead and change this start time to 5 o'clock. So now if I go to 5 o'clock, you can see that all apps except for the ones that I specified are grayed out. But again, all I have to do is tap on them and ignore the limit if I want to. Another enhancement with iOS 12 comes to the Do Not Disturb toggle. So previously, all we got was the option to enable the feature. Now, if we 3D press on it, this expands out to some quick actions. So we can select for 1 hour until this evening or until I leave this location, which is kind of interesting. Now, if you select schedule, this allows you to customize this experience. So you can select specific times of day, some exceptions, allow certain phone calls from your favorites, contacts, and more. Messages has also been tweaked, and one of the things we get here is this new app bar. So basically, this is just surfacing all of the apps that are available for the Messages app. Previously, you had to tap the app icon to get to those. And tapping the app icon in iOS 12 just turns that on and off. Some of the most talked about new features within the messaging app is the new Animojis and something called a Memoji. So we get 4 new Animojis, which includes a dinosaur, a koala, a ghost, and a tiger. Now, these have some additional capabilities, so it can recognize your tongue as well as a wink. So it's improved those sort of facial tracking features for all of them. So all of them gain these new features, the existing ones and the new ones. And the other great news here is that you can record up to 30 seconds of this stuff. But what's really interesting with iOS 12 is Memoji. So you have the option to create faces that look exactly like you or like another type of person. So it really depends on what you want to do here with these. So I've created 2 of them already, one with a hat, one without a hat. And you can go here to the plus sign to create another one. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire process here, but there are countless variations to creating a Memoji. So you can choose a skin color and a skin tone. So if you want to be a Bolian or an Andorian or just a regular human, you can go ahead and select the right skin tone for you. You can apply freckles. You can change your hairstyle if you're lucky enough to have hair. And then, of course, you can also change the color of those hairstyles. And it's really infinite and it's always expanding. You can change your head shape, your eyes, brows, nose, and lips. You can even change the color of your lips and the shape of your lips, your ears, so whether you have attached, detached, or earrings. We also have facial hair with sideburns, goatees, or traditional beards. We have all sorts of different types of eyewear we can pick from, many different types of headwear, and you can select different colors. Of course, that doesn't look anything like me, so if we go to a Memoji that looks like me, you can go to this ellipses in the lower left corner, select Edit, and customize this to something else. So the Memoji works just like the Animojis. It keeps track of your winks, your tongue, and all sorts of facial movements. The camera app within the messaging app has also picked up a bunch of features to take advantage of Animojis and Memojis. So the best way to use this is in video mode. And if you look in the lower left corner, we can bring up all of those features. So one of them is the Animoji or Memoji app. So we can select either one of our Animojis or the Memojis. So let me go ahead and select a Memoji. And you can see it keeps track or applies that to the top of your face in real time. So you get a real background, not just a white background. So that's kind of handy. And once you're done applying it, just exit that out and click record, and you can record a message and send it off to somebody. But what's a little more interesting are shapes and objects which keep track of motion. So for example, we can pin text to a shot. So let's go ahead and pin this text here. Let's say hi, just because I'm lazy, click return. And then once we do that, what you can do here is drag and drop it around, and you'll see it keeps track of motion. So if you want to be a little more creative than I am here, you can imagine what you can do with text that keeps track of motion. Of course, there's a few other things here. We have some shapes we can apply, and you can expand it out to see here. So let's grab this firework effect. Now I can drag and drop it around. So again, it keeps track of motion. If you want to get rid of this object, just tap and hold. You'll get an X icon to delete it. You can also resize it like so. FaceTime also gets a major overhaul with iOS 12 on the left here, so you can see those on-screen controls are now hidden. To get to them, you tap on the screen and they pop out. But you can see we have more controls this time. So again, we have speaker controls, microphone controls, we can flip the cameras and more. But you can see down here we have a section dedicated to multiple users. So you can have up to 32 simultaneous FaceTime calls. Unfortunately, I can't replicate it, but I'll show you how it should look if you get multiple users on a single FaceTime call. But one of the new features is FaceTime effects. So this allows you to add real-time FaceTime effects. So that includes animojis and memojis. So if I get into view, you can see, let me go ahead and do that. There you go. You can see a live memoji. So the other users will see this live animation. Besides shortcuts, Siri also picks up some new capabilities, such as show me photos from Chicago. Siri can even look up passwords for you. Show me passwords for Instagram. Turn on the flashlight.
It's on.
That's very handy because sometimes you don't want to fumble with swiping up to get to the flashlight controller. iOS 12 does add a new home screen default app, and that is the Measure app. I'm actually a big fan of this app, but if you want to get rid of it, you certainly can. Just tap and hold to get to your editor. You can see it is one of the apps you can pull out. Now, the Measure app uses ARKit and the cameras for measuring objects in real time in real space. Now, I'm just going to throw up some screen recordings of how this app works in real time. Now, you can specify specific points you want to measure, or it will automatically detect shapes and measure them for you and provide some really useful details. And it's fairly accurate. It's not the most precise thing in the world. Obviously, you're not going to want to measure screens with it, but it works surprisingly well. The Measure app also incorporates the Level app. So this used to be integrated into the Compass app, so now it's been pulled from that and put into this app, which makes some sense. The Weather app gets one minor tweak, and that is the air quality level. So you'll see the air index level for your current location if that location is reporting it. Portrait lighting effects have also been improved, so iOS 12 is on the left, iOS 11 on the right, and the big difference here is evident right away when you look at the edges of the mask. So you can see it's quite a bit more accurate this time. My ears aren't blurred out like they are with iOS 11. The Stocks app has also been completely redesigned with integration from the News app. So you'll find news-related items down below. So you can expand that out, and you can see toward the top that the stock sticker scrolls across the top of the screen. Previously, we had these tabs we swipe through, and they related depending on what stock you were looking at. So if I'm looking at Ford here, I can swipe through the information. Now, if I go to Ford on my list here, you'll see a different interface. So again, some similar information here, but it's more condensed. So I don't have to swipe through these tabs. Instead, I can see all the same information in one view and scroll up for the related news stories. Photos app also gets a major redesign. Specifically, if you look at the tabs along the bottom, again, iOS 12 on the left, you'll see For You replacing Memories. And For You also combines Shared, but we still have Albums. So if you just want to check out your traditional album layout, you can. But taking a look at For You versus Memories, at first glance, it looks very similar, but if you bring up one of these, you'll see a lot more information. So if you take a look at this specific memory down below, you'll see the location, but you'll also see the people that are in those memories. Not only does Search get its own tab, but the interface has been completely redesigned, so it's much more graphical as opposed to this list view. So we can see faces, locations, and categories automatically separated for us. The iBooks app is now just the Books app and gets a complete redesign that's much more consistent with other Apple apps. This is very overdue. So again, we have the old interface, which was more of a grid view with smaller icons. Now we get a much more graphical interface, which is more glanceable. So you can see all of our recent items, some recommendations based on your activity. So we have a For You tab like every other Apple app. And then you have some trending items. You can see our library tab, which is similar to the My Books tab, which again is a bit bolder. We have the bookstore as opposed to top charts. Again, much bolder items, so you can see larger icons, bigger text, and of course For You section and trending items. We also have an audiobooks tab as opposed to the drop-down tab from up top. And of course we have search, which also gets a new interface. Voice Memos has also been completely redesigned with a new app icon, so we go from white to this black and red theme. Tap and open this up, you can see the interface looks completely different. It's got quite a few tools we can take a look at. So the new Voice Memos app syncs to iCloud, so all of your recordings are saved there if you want. In terms of the recording interface, once you click record, you get a waveform here. This is just a test of Voice Memos on iOS 12. Click stop. Now what we can do here is go into the edit option so we can edit the recording. And with editing, we have several tools here. So for example, we can crop it or we can replace parts of it. Voice Memos on. So let's go ahead and replace just this part. Just replacing the voice. There you go. Voice Memos also gets a new setting panel, so if you want to turn off location, you can. You can also change the audio quality from compressed to lossless. And if you just want to turn off location-based naming, you have a toggle for that. The News app also gets a redesign, mostly in the form of new tabs along the bottom, which have been simplified. So instead of For You, we have Today, we have Spotlight still here, and instead of Following, we have our channels. So these are all of the channels we're following, which we can edit. iOS 12 also brings favicons to Safari for the first time. So if you're not sure what those are the little icons that appear next to websites. In terms of the Music app, the big news is a redesigned artist page. So you'll see at the top of the artist page on iOS 12, you get a play icon so you can start playing the music right away. You don't have to pick individual songs to get started. You can also see down below some bolder album art. Also, you'll see access to music videos and some additional biographical information down below, such as the fact that I didn't know this, but I guess he was born in Missouri, not Detroit. The lock screen also picks up a new dark mode for the media widget. The QuickType keyboard gets a slight redesign, so we have black text as opposed to white, and the dividers between the words are more subtle this time. Reachability also gets a redesign, so when you invoke it, it kind of looks like a shade that's dropping down as opposed to the apps just sliding down, but you can also scroll up now, like so, as opposed to just tapping to dismiss it. The battery settings page also gets a redesign and some new features, so you can see battery health is no longer in beta, but we get these charts we can navigate through. So in addition to keeping track of usage by app, we can now take a look at our timeline. So you can see how much screen on time and screen off time we've used since last full charge. So that used to be at the bottom here, so we had usage and standby. That's now toward the top. But we can also tap on specific areas of these charts to navigate through usage levels at that time and what apps were using it. When it comes to iOS 12 on the iPad, the big news are the new gestures, which sort of replicate the iPhone 10, so it's a little more consistent from iPad to iPhone. It's a pretty big change if you're not used to them, but if you're used to an iPhone 10, this is going to be pretty natural. So for example, in order to get to the control center, you just swipe down from the upper right corner, just like you do on the iPhone 10. Previously, you had to swipe up to get to the recent apps viewer, and all of those controls were on the right side. Also similar to the iPhone 10 is the way you switch between apps. So you can swipe across on the bottom, basically you swipe up and over like so to switch between your recent apps. Now you can still use the four-finger gesture to do the same thing. And just like on the iPhone 10, you swipe up to get to the home screen, further deprecating the home button. Another obvious visual tweak for iOS 12 on the iPad is the addition of the date in the upper left corner and the relocation of the clock from the middle to the left side, so there's no longer a clock at the center. In terms of the rest of the interface, most of the changes you saw demonstrated on the iPhone also apply here. So for example, we have group notifications. You can long press to expand them out for scrollable email notifications. Again, that's very handy. You can swipe to get to additional controllers for managing your notifications. clear all if you want to dismiss all notifications from that specific app. Scroll down, swipe between your widgets, and you'll find your new screen time widget on the iPad as well. It looks like I don't have it activated yet, so you'll see a splash screen once you activate it for the first time, which explains what you can do with it. iPad also picks up a bunch of new apps for iOS 12, including the Measure app, Stocks, and Voice Memos. So if we go to Stocks, you can take a look at the interface here, which is nicely formatted for the size of the screen. You can see all of your stocks on the left side. You can also take a look at all the news stories related to whatever you have tapped here on the left side. So if I go to forward, you'll see all the data points up top, which looks pretty bleak right now. And then you'll see all the news stories down below once they load. We also get the Voice Memo app, which is also similar to the iPhone, just formatted for this screen. So we can start recording a new voice memo, and we can also replace just like we can on the iPhone. iPad also picks up the new and revised QuickType keyboard, just like on the iPhone, but we also get the revised markup tools. So that includes a new color picker, so we have more colors to pick from. The tools have also been updated with width adjustment as well as intensity. So you just pick the width you want, and this works for all of them, the marker, the pencil, and the thin marker. Also new is the way you activate cursor mode on the iPad. Previously, you used 2 fingers on the keyboard to activate the mode. Now you use a single finger on the spacebar, and then you can mouse around. Alright guys, that's going to do for me with this look at iOS 12. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know with a like. And before you leave, let me know what is your favorite new feature in the comment section below. Hope to see you guys again in my next video.